Hi everyone, Tim from Classic Register here. In this video we take a look at the features of the Toyota Crown Comfort, and in particular the Hong Kong cars. They're up there with the most iconic taxis in the world, like London's black cabs or New York's Ford Crown Victoria. The Comfort has prominently served Japan, Singapore, Hong Kong and several other smaller markets throughout Asia. They've established a great reputation for their simplicity and reliability among drivers and passengers, with that spirit formally acknowledged in 2010 when the Crown Comfort received the Toyota President's Prize from company president Akio Toyoda. The design was introduced in 1995, and the cars are still widely used as taxis in both Hong Kong and Japan, but stopped service in Singapore from 2014 due to emission regulation changes. Around 40,000 Crown Comforts were produced worldwide, and about 18,000 of these vehicles operate in Hong Kong alone. Sadly, it is rumoured that after nearly a quarter of a century, Toyota may be discontinuing the model. Those rumours have been triggered since the Crown Comfort was removed from Toyota's Japanese website in May 2017, suggesting production sales have now ended. Although the Crown Comfort is by far the most common taxi in Hong Kong today, we now see several new vehicles being used, including the Ford Connect, Toyota Prius, Nissan NV200 and China's BYD Model E6. Despite these new vehicles entering taxi fleets, we're confident the Comfort will be on the streets of Hong Kong for many years to come, and we'll now have a closer look at the features of these legendary taxis. Starting with the mechanicals. This image here is an earlier Type 3YPE engine, being a 2-litre single overhead cam 4-cylinder motor as applied to earlier Hong Kong taxis running on LPG. A 2.2-litre diesel engine was also available, with production ending in 1999 and diesel taxis subsequently becoming illegal in Hong Kong from 2006. In 2001, Toyota added an LPG version of a more modern 2-litre 4-cylinder, which is what you see in the video here. This later motor is a dual overhead cam 16-valve design with Toyota's variable valve timing, and it produces 84 kilowatts of power put through either a 4-speed automatic transmission or a 5-speed manual. The cars are all rear drive with a live rear axle, had front disc brakes and rear drums, and had the gas tank installed in the trunk up against the rear seat. The exterior of the Crown Comfort has remained relatively unchanged throughout its life, but subtle changes were applied to the car's styling from 2007 onward. The two versions of the car are referred to as the pre- and post-facelift model, and we notice that there are still many pre-facelift cars on the Hong Kong roads today. What you see in this image is a pre-facelift car. From the front, there is little that distinguishes it, as both early and later vehicles had integrated driving lights in the lower bumper and clear lens indicators at the front. The side door mouldings and bumpers in all years are black plastic. However, on the pre-facelift models, there is no chrome insert within these mouldings. The earlier pre-facelift models are also not fitted with a black moulding strip between the rear bumper and the rear wheel arch like on later cars, as you can see in the close-up image. Another thing we noticed was that on both the pre- and post-facelift cars, there are what appears to be two reversing sensors in the rear bumper, but we've also seen cars without these fitted. Other than these subtle changes from the front and side mouldings, it's difficult to distinguish the later cars from the earlier cars until we look at some of the other characteristics. Here at the rear end is where you notice the biggest changes between the pre- and post-facelift cars. Up to 2007, the Comforts had very simple vertical taillights with amber indicator lenses. These models also had slightly different badging, and we've noticed more than a couple of styles across a number of vehicles. One of the styles of badging we've noticed includes Toyota LPG on the left-hand side and Crown Comfort on the right. Others have had Toyota on the left and simply Comfort on the right. Some other vehicles have had no badging at all. The wheels are another distinguishing feature of these cars. The pre-facelift cars had a 6-spoke 15-inch wheel design, and there are also a few taxis around with aftermarket rims. As you can see in a lot of these videos, these earlier 6-spoke wheels have a tendency to lose their centre caps. Moving on to the post-facelift cars now, an example of which you can see in the image. Like the pre-facelift cars, the front bumper has integrated lamps and clear indicator lenses, and there are only a couple of subtle differences regarding the bumpers and body side mouldings. The post-facelift cars are fitted with a body rub strip between the rear bumper and the wheel arch, and you may be able to just see in the image that there is also a chrome insert in the black rubber section of the bumpers and side mouldings, which is absent on the earlier cars. As mentioned earlier, the rear of the car is where the main changes occurred with the 2007 facelift. This facelift included larger, full-width reflective tail lamps with clear indicator lenses, which were applied to all cars, along with revised badging. The revised badging on the left-hand side read Toyota 2.0 VVTi. On the right-hand side it read LPG Comfort. We haven't seen any variation on this badging with the later cars. So doing a quick walk around of the later series Crown Comfort, you can see the integrated fog lights there. We've got 5-spoke alloy wheels which differ to the earlier series cars, we'll talk about these in a second. Up to the roof line here, we've got these rain guards which applied to pretty much every taxi we were able to see over there. And as we mentioned, we have the full width revised tail lights and of course the revised badging as we just mentioned. As with the pre-facelift cars, the post-facelift cars also received 15-inch alloy wheels with a 5-stud pattern, but this time they were 5-spoke alloys instead of 6, and they had smaller centre caps which were less likely to fall out, so Toyota fixed that problem with this later generation car, and you can see a few examples of those in the video here. Moving into the interior of the Crown Comfort now. The cars were only available in right-hand drive, and they had all-electric windows, they had vinyl interior seat trim with perforated pleats or insert panels, and they had the typical taxi pack rubber floors and hard plastic interior finishes throughout. They had an adjustable side driver's seatbelt height and great air conditioning, which you really need in Hong Kong's climate. In terms of safety, a driver's airbag certainly applied to cars from 2007 onwards, but we've not seen that applied to some of the pre-2007 cars that we've looked at, so we're unsure from when exactly that feature applied. The more common 4-passenger cars in Hong Kong have the traditional layout of a T-bar floor-mounted automatic shifter. Manual transmissions were fitted to some cars, however we didn't come across any during our time in Hong Kong, and manuals are reportedly more common in the Japanese market. The Crown Comfort in Hong Kong was also available as a 5-passenger car. Those 5-passenger vehicles have an additional seat in the front middle next to the driver, and they're fitted with a column shift automatic instead of the T-bar setup. As a taxi that often ferries passengers to and from the airport, we did find a bit of a problem. With the cars running on LPG, the cylindrical gas tank is located in the rear trunk and takes up a substantial amount of space which would otherwise be available for luggage. As a result, if you have more than a few large bags, the Crown Comfort is forced to drive around with its trunk lid half open and strapped down, and we saw this more often than not on the way to and from the airport. With many of the pre-2007 model Crown Comforts still on the road today, it's clear these cars are up to the task of serving Hong Kong for at least the next decade. Whatever happens next, the Crown will undoubtedly go down in history as one of the greatest taxis in the world. Thanks very much for watching. Please follow Classic Register on Facebook for more guides and interesting cars from around the globe.